Today, we're exploring the key ideas from Dopamine Nation by Anna Lembke. This is an independent educational overview enriched with our own integrative analysis and actionable exercises. Think of it as a guided reflection to spark your own insights, not a replacement for reading the book itself. In an era defined by relentless indulgence, where the digital realm serves as an omnipresent dispenser of instant gratification, our understanding of pleasure and pain faces a critical reckoning. From the hyper-palatable convenience of modern foodstuffs to the endless scroll of online media, contemporary society offers an unprecedented menu of high-reward stimuli, each vying for our attention and altering our intrinsic sense of satisfaction. At the heart of this phenomenon lies dopamine, the brain's universal currency for desire and motivation. Its delicate balance, processing both euphoria and discomfort within shared neural circuits, is profoundly susceptible to disruption. When perpetually tipped toward intense pleasure, this internal scale inevitably overcorrects, plunging us into states of craving, anhedonia, or deep unease. This commentary delves into the neuroscientific underpinnings of this imbalance, weaving in the profound wisdom gleaned from those who have intimately navigated the treacherous waters of compulsive overconsumption. Their lived experiences serve as poignant indicators of our collective vulnerability, urging us to harmonize scientific insight with practical strategies for fostering a more balanced, fulfilling existence amidst a landscape engineered for excess. The ultimate challenge is not to eradicate pleasure, but to cultivate a healthier, more sustainable relationship with desire itself. The overloaded circuitry. Navigating a dopamine-saturated world. Our modern landscape, brimming with readily available, highly potent stimuli, has created an environment where the brain's ancient reward system is perpetually overtaxed. This isn't just about illicit substances. It encompasses an array of digital drugs, from the endless stream of social media notifications to the immersive worlds of online gaming, alongside engineered foods, entertainment, and easy access to once scarce pleasures. This pervasive abundance drives what might be termed limbic capitalism, where technological innovation and market forces constantly escalate the potency and reach of dopamine-releasing activities. Consider the evolution from simple entertainments to hyper-stimulating digital platforms designed with bottomless feeds and unpredictable reward schedules, all engineered to maximize engagement and, consequently, dopamine spikes. At the core of this challenge lies dopamine, a crucial neurotransmitter. While commonly associated with pleasure, its primary role is to drive the motivation to seek rewards, creating an intense wanting rather than just a liking. The speed and magnitude of dopamine release directly correlate with a substance or behavior's addictive potential. A modest treat might elicit a gentle rise, but a potent drug or an intensely gratifying digital experience can unleash an exponentially larger surge, compelling further engagement. Crucially, the brain processes both pleasure and pain in overlapping regions, operating like a finely tuned balance. When a pleasurable experience triggers a dopamine rush, the balance tips towards pleasure. However, the brain's remarkable self-regulating mechanisms immediately counteract this shift. Imagine tiny, tireless agents, metaphorically gremlins, jumping onto the pain side of the balance to restore equilibrium. After the initial pleasure subsides, these agents don't simply vanish. They remain, causing the balance to overcorrect and dip an equal and opposite amount into pain. This after-reaction is the physiological cost of every intense, prolonged deviation from a neutral state. Repeated and heavy exposure to high dopamine stimuli leads to neuroadaptation. The brain's pleasure receptors become less sensitive, requiring more of the stimulus to achieve the same effect. This is tolerance. Simultaneously, the pain after response strengthens and lingers longer, making us less responsive to joy and more vulnerable to discomfort. In chronic cases of overconsumption, the pleasure-pain balance can become perpetually skeeved towards pain, creating a dopamine deficit state, or anhedonia, where everyday activities lose their luster and nothing feels truly good. At this point, the relentless craving isn't for pleasure, but simply to alleviate suffering and feel normal again. Fortunately, with sustained abstinence, the brain often demonstrates remarkable plasticity, recalibrating the balance and allowing the simple joys of life to be appreciated anew. Beyond the actual experience, mere cues associated with pleasure can also trigger this imbalance. This Pavlovian conditioning means that the sights, sounds, people, or places linked to a rewarding activity can cause an anticipatory dopamine spike immediately followed by a dip below baseline, leading to intense cravings. The unpredictable nature of some rewards, like gambling, can paradoxically reinforce the behavior more strongly than a guaranteed win, as the chase itself becomes highly stimulating. These profound brain changes, a result of experience-dependent plasticity, can alter neural pathways, explaining why some individuals instantly relapse even after years of abstinence. This neurobiological reality starkly contrasts with our modern societal tendencies. We live in an era that actively promotes the avoidance of discomfort, from over-sanitized childhoods where adversity is minimized to a medical system increasingly expected to eradicate all pain. We are conditioned to medicate rather than engage with suffering. This has contributed to a global surge in prescriptions for psychiatric drugs, often used to offset poor lifestyle choices, creating a cycle where side effects are then attributed to underlying mental illness, justifying further medication. An infinite appetite for distractions, from constant social media engagement to endless entertainment, further prevents introspection and tolerance for boredom, a state that can be crucial for creativity and self-discovery. Paradoxically, despite unprecedented wealth and progress, many societies report higher rates of anxiety, depression, and general unhappiness. It seems our relentless efforts to avoid being miserable are in fact making us more so, rendering us cacti in the rainforest, overwhelmed by an environment we were never designed to navigate. Strategic discipline, reclaiming agency through intentional limits. Navigating the pervasive temptations of a dopamine-rich world necessitates a proactive and disciplined approach, often centered on the strategic implementation of limits. This process, often framed by a structured pathway, begins with gathering data on one's consumption patterns, precisely what substances or behaviors are involved, in what quantities, and with what frequency. This granular awareness is foundational. Next, identifying the objectives behind these habits is crucial. Even seemingly irrational behaviors serve a purpose, perhaps to alleviate anxiety, combat boredom, or escape difficult emotions. Understanding these underlying motivations validates the individual's experience and sheds light on the perceived benefits of the habit. However, all high dopamine activities, especially when compulsively engaged, inevitably lead to problems, health issues, strained relationships, or moral conflicts. These consequences are often obscured by the immediate gratification they provide, making the world seem sensory-rich and causal-poor. Recognizing even subtle downsides provides leverage for change. The most transformative step often involves abstinence, a critical period of at least 4 weeks. This sustained break allows the brain's reward pathway to reset, restoring homeostasis, making ordinary pleasures more enjoyable, and revealing the true cause and effect relationship between the habit and overall well-being. The initial 2 weeks typically bring withdrawal and a dopamine deficit, but persistence often yields significant improvement. For severe dependencies, medically supervised tapering is paramount due to life-threatening withdrawal risks. It is also crucial to avoid trading addictions, as substituting one high dopamine activity for another rarely fosters true balance. During abstinence, mindfulness becomes an indispensable tool. By observing thoughts, emotions, and sensations, including discomfort, without judgment, individuals can separate themselves from internal experiences, tolerating discomfort instead of immediately escaping it. This practice is vital as the cessation of compulsive habits often unearths previously suppressed feelings. Such self-observation naturally leads to insight, providing unparalleled clarity on how ingrained habits might have been fueling the very problems they seem to alleviate. With this newfound understanding, individuals can determine next steps, whether that involves continued abstinence or a reintroduction of the activity with moderation, though moderation often proves challenging for those with severe dependencies. The final stage is an experiment where individuals, armed with a recalibrated dopamine balance and a clear plan, re-engage with the world, adjusting strategies to maintain balance. This phase carries the risk of the abstinence violation effect, where a return to use can trigger a binge, particularly in predisposed individuals. For ubiquitous digital drugs or essential substances like food, where complete abstinence isn't viable, self-binding strategies become critical. Self-binding refers to the intentional creation of barriers between oneself and a tempting drug of choice before the irresistible pull of compulsion takes hold. It acknowledges that when desire strikes, voluntary choice is severely diminished, making preemptive action essential. This concept is ancient, exemplified by the tale of Odysseus, who had himself tied to the mast to resist the siren's deadly song. Self-binding strategies can be broadly categorized. Physical self-binding involves creating literal barriers or geographical distance. This could be as simple as unplugging a television or placing a tempting item in a timer-locked box. Pharmacological interventions also fit here, operating at a cellular level. Certain medications can block pleasure receptors, reducing the reinforcing effects of various rewarding behaviors, while others induce severe illness if a substance like alcohol is consumed. More extreme physical interventions, such as weight loss surgeries, highlight humanity's increasing need to physically intervene against readily available dopamine, though these can have unintended consequences, sometimes leading to a switch to other substances. The underlying addiction to sensation or escape often remains unaddressed by purely physical measures. Chronological self-binding imposes time limits and finish lines on consumption. By restricting use to specific times, example, weekends, after 5 p.m., or after achieving certain milestones, individuals narrow their window of use, limiting overall consumption. Research indicates that restricted access leads to moderated use, while unlimited access often spirals into compulsion. However, high dopamine goods fuel delay discounting, where the perceived value of a reward diminishes the longer one has to wait for it. This can be exacerbated by our instant gratification culture and by socioeconomic factors like poverty, where immediate relief often outweighs long-term gains. An abundance of unstructured leisure time, particularly for those with limited meaningful opportunities, can also fuel compulsive behaviors as a means to fill the void. Categorical self-binding limits consumption by defining what types of dopamine-inducing experiences are acceptable and which are not. This often extends beyond the primary addiction to include related triggers. For instance, an individual struggling with online gambling might avoid all sports-related media. Cultural traditions have long employed categorical self-binding, such as modesty in dress, to minimize the risk of forbidden desires. However, market forces often undermine such boundaries, repackaging previously taboo substances into socially acceptable commodities, blurring lines and challenging attempts at abstinence. A unique form of categorical binding involves deifying the demonized, such as using psychedelics in a controlled therapeutic, pseudo-sacred context, hoping to leverage their potential without fostering misuse. Ultimately, for those who successfully implement self-binding, this disciplined restriction is often experienced not as limitation, but as profound liberation, granting a renewed sense of dignity and freedom from compulsion. This discussion also touches upon the complex issue of medicating distress. While medications like buprenorphine can be life-altering for individuals in recovery from opioid addiction, questions arise about whether they correct an innate imbalance, permanently compensate for drug-induced changes, or address a deficit in the world, societal failings that contribute to suffering. Concerns are significant. Any pleasure-stimulating drug carries addictive potential. Long-term use can paradoxically worsen conditions like anxiety or chronic pain, and medications may limit the full range of human emotions, dulling powerful feelings like grief or awe, potentially diminishing the very friction that fuels personal growth and a sense of humanity. The disproportionate prescription of psychiatric drugs to marginalized communities also raises alarms about their potential use as a form of social control, highlighting the critical need to distinguish genuine therapeutic benefit from institutional neglect or the flattening of essential human experience. Embracing discomfort, the path to deeper connection and resilience. In stark contrast to society's pervasive drive for comfort and instant gratification, a profound path to enduring well-being lies in the deliberate embrace of discomfort. This principle, known as hormesis, suggests that moderate and controlled exposure to stressors can actually enhance our physical and psychological resilience. Imagine a successful professional in recovery from addiction who discovers the profound mood-boosting effects of daily ice baths. The initial shock is undeniably painful, but within moments, the body adapts, triggering a powerful after-response of euphoria and mental clarity that can last for hours, driven by significant increases in dopamine and norepinephrine. This pressing on the pain side leverages the body's innate homeostatic mechanisms. When confronted with pain, the system overcompensates by releasing pleasure-inducing compounds. Consistent, intermittent exposure to such discomfort can effectively reset our hedonic set point, making us less vulnerable to pain and more receptive to joy over time. Hormesis extends to various beneficial stressors: intense exercise, exposure to heat like saunas, and even calorie restriction. Regular physical activity, despite its initial exertion, floods the brain with mood-regulating neurotransmitters, fosters new neural growth, and can significantly reduce the likelihood of developing addictive patterns. In an increasingly sedentary world, engaging our physical bodies is as crucial for mental health as it is for physical vitality. This concept also underpins the deliberate application of small pain to inhibit great pain. Acupuncture, for instance, uses minor needle insertion to trigger the body's endogenous opioids, alleviating broader discomfort. Similarly, exposure therapy incrementally desensitizes individuals to fears and anxieties, transforming paralyzing discomfort into a sense of competence and mastery, much like a climber develops tolerance to fear through repeated, challenging ascents. However, the line between beneficial hormesis and self-destructive compulsion can blur. An obsessive pursuit of extreme pain, just like the compulsive chase for pleasure, can become an addiction in itself, leading to dysphoria. The key lies in finding balance, inhibiting great pain with just enough small, purposeful discomfort. Beyond physical discomfort, the embrace of emotional and social pain, particularly through radical honesty, offers a potent pathway to healing and deeper connection. While humans are naturally inclined towards deception, often telling small, imperceptible lies daily, this lying habit fosters isolation and impedes genuine self-awareness. Radical honesty directly combats this. Promotes awareness. By verbalizing our experiences, whether in therapy, with a trusted confidant, or through journaling, we bring our behaviors into conscious relief. This is especially vital for automatic or unconscious actions, often termed denial in addiction contexts. Consciously acknowledging a problematic habit, even a seemingly minor one, can be the initial spark for change. Fosters intimate human connections. Counterintuitively, revealing vulnerabilities through honesty deepens relationships. Witnessing shared brokenness affirms our common humanity and diminishes feelings of isolation, triggering releases of dopamine and oxytocin that reinforce connection. This stands in stark contrast to compulsive overconsumption, which often replaces genuine human intimacy with a fleeting, artificial gratification. Creates accountability through truthful autobiographies. The narratives we construct about our lives shape our future behaviors. Healing involves taking responsibility for our actions and reactions rather than perpetually casting ourselves as victims. This principle is central to recovery philosophies that emphasize a searching and fearless moral inventory. By acknowledging one's own contributions to difficult situations, individuals shift from blame to self-awareness, moving from a curated false self to an authentic, grounded identity. This process lessens the cognitive burden of maintaining lies and frees mental energy for spontaneous, engaged living. Is contagious and prevents addiction. Truth-telling cultivates a plenty mindset, fostering confidence, reliability, and the capacity to delay gratification. Conversely, a scarcity mindset, often associated with dishonesty, prioritizes immediate gains and erodes trust. Observing others' integrity can inspire similar behavior, creating a positive ripple effect and potentially altering life trajectories, even in the face of genetic predispositions. Finally, the perplexing paradox of shame reveals its potential as a catalyst for recovery when properly understood and channeled. Conventionally, shame, feeling bad about oneself, is distinguished from guilt, feeling bad about one's actions. However, experientially, they often merge. The crucial difference lies in the response to our transgressions. When others react with rejection, it fosters destructive shame, a cycle that intensifies self-loathing, isolation, and ultimately perpetuates the very behaviors one feels ashamed of. Imagine someone confiding in a community only to be met with subtle disapproval, pushing them further into secretive habits. Conversely, pro-social shame emerges when transgressions are met with acceptance, empathy, and clear pathways to redemption. This adaptive form acknowledges human fallibility and provides a structured to-do list for making amends. Recovery communities, for instance, excel at creating a de-shaming process through radical honesty within a supportive environment, transforming the desire to hide into an opportunity for belonging and growth. The effectiveness of such groups also hinges on club goods, collective benefits strengthened by sacrifice and stigma, rigorous participation and adherence to norms that identify committed members and deter free riders. This framework extends beyond recovery, offering insights for fostering healthy relationships and personal development, In parenting, modeling radical honesty and embracing shame creates a safe space for vulnerability. Setting boundaries and adhering to shared values, much like a coach building team cohesion, strengthens club goods within families, fostering genuine intimacy. This intimacy explosion provides a powerful, health-promoting rush of connection, far richer and more sustainable than any fleeting dopamine hit from cheap pleasures, ultimately curbing addictive tendencies and fostering stronger social bonds. Instructions. Integrative Analysis Implications. The overwhelming availability of potent dopamine-releasing stimuli presents a foundational challenge to human well-being in the modern age. The core insight emerging from this exploration is a profound paradox. The more we relentlessly chase pleasure and assiduously avoid pain, the more susceptible we become to chronic dissatisfaction, anhedonia, and various forms of compulsive overconsumption. Our brain, exquisitely wired for a world of scarcity, struggles profoundly when immersed in an ocean of instant gratification, leading to a pleasure-pain balance perpetually skewed towards discomfort. The implications are far-reaching. On an individual level, cultivating balance demands a conscious recalibration of our relationship with desire. This involves not only understanding the neurobiology of dopamine and the opponent process mechanism, but also developing practical strategies to reclaim agency. Self-binding through physical, chronological, and categorical limits is an essential proactive defense against the overwhelming pull of compulsion, recognizing that willpower alone is insufficient in the face of intense craving. This strategic discipline, initially experienced as restrictive, ultimately liberates us from the tyranny of insatiable wants. Crucially, the path to enduring well-being also requires a courageous pivot towards embracing discomfort. Hormetic stressors, such as cold exposure or intense exercise, not only reset our hedonic set point, but also fortify our resilience, allowing us to find joy in simpler, more profound experiences. Beyond physical pain, the practice of radical honesty forces us to confront uncomfortable truths, fostering genuine self-awareness and building authentic, intimate connections that provide a far richer, more sustainable source of positive emotion than any fleeting high. Moreover, transforming shame from a destructive force into a pro-social catalyst within supportive communities allows for growth, accountability, and a profound sense of belonging. Collectively, these insights challenge societal norms that prioritize superficial happiness and immediate comfort. The pervasive medicating of distress, while offering temporary relief, carries the risk of dulling the full spectrum of human experience and may mask deeper societal failings. Instead, we are called to foster environments in our families, communities, and broader culture that value resilience, authentic connection, and a willingness to engage with life's inherent difficulties. This means raising children who can tolerate frustration, designing technologies that encourage moderation rather than endless engagement, and creating communities that offer genuine support and pathways to redemption rather than isolation and destructive judgment. Ultimately, the lesson of the balance is not one of asceticism, but of intentionality. It is about understanding that true relief and profound satisfaction are found not in fleeing the complexities of life, but in fully immersing oneself within them. By consciously managing our dopamine-driven urges, strategically binding ourselves, and courageously embracing the full spectrum of human experience, both pleasure and pain, we can rediscover a world worthy of our full attention, fostering an engaged, resilient, and deeply meaningful existence. Actionable Exercises. How to 1. The 24-hour dopamine reset. Our modern world bombards us with instant gratification, making ordinary pleasures feel dull. This exercise helps you reset your brain's reward system by taking a short break from a high dopamine activity. Choose one non-essential, high dopamine activity or substance that you regularly indulge in. This could be social media, online gaming, sugary snacks, a specific streaming show, or even excessive news consumption. For the next 24 hours, completely abstain from it. You don't need to overthink it. Just pick something you know you turn to for a quick fix. During this period, pay close attention to any cravings, boredom, or discomfort that arises. Notice what thoughts and feelings emerge when you can't reach for your usual escape. After 24 hours, reflect on how you feel. Do everyday activities seem a little more vibrant? Do you feel a sense of calm or clarity? This short pause can help you appreciate simple rewards and reveal your true relationship with your chosen indulgence. 2. Implement a small, self-binding barrier. We often rely on willpower in the moment of temptation, but willpower is a finite resource. This exercise helps you proactively create a barrier before compulsion takes hold, making healthier choices easier. Identify one high dopamine activity you'd like to moderate. Then choose one simple self-binding strategy. Physical. Create a physical barrier. Examples: put your phone in another room while you work, unplug your TV, hide sugary treats in a hard-to-reach place. Chronological. Set a time limit. Examples: only check social media after 6 p.m., limit gaming to weekends, eat dessert only on Saturdays. Categorical. Limit the type of content. Examples: only watch documentaries, read physical books instead of ebooks, avoid specific websites. Implement your chosen barrier for the next week. Observe how this small change influences your behavior and your feelings of control. You'll find it's easier to make a single decision ahead of time than to fight countless temptations throughout the day. 3. Embrace a microdose of discomfort. In a world designed for comfort, our capacity for enduring pain has decreased, making us less resilient and less appreciative of pleasure. This exercise introduces a small, deliberate challenge to build your resilience and shift your pleasure-pain balance. Choose one small, safe discomfort to integrate into your daily routine for a week. The goal is a brief, manageable experience, not extreme suffering. Examples include ending your shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water, taking a brisk 15-minute walk outdoors instead of immediately reaching for your phone, sitting in silence for 5 to 10 minutes instead of seeking distraction, standing or stretching for a few minutes when you'd normally sit. As you engage in this discomfort, notice your initial resistance. Then, observe how your body and mind adapt. Most importantly, pay attention to the after effect, the sense of accomplishment, invigoration, or calm that often follows. This practice helps your brain appreciate ordinary joys more deeply. 4. Practice awareness through honest sharing. We often keep our struggles and small lying habits hidden, which can lead to isolation and perpetuate unhelpful behaviors. Radical honesty, even in small doses, fosters awareness and genuine connection. Think of a small habit or minor secret you've been keeping from yourself or others. Perhaps a small indulgence you're slightly embarrassed by, a feeling you've suppressed, or a minor white lie you tell regularly. This isn't about grand confessions, but about bringing something into the light. Choose one of these options. Journaling. Write down this truth in your journal, exploring why you've kept it hidden and how it impacts you. Trusted friend. Share this small truth with one trusted friend or family member, simply stating it without judgment or expectation. Notice what happens when you externalize this internal experience. Does it feel lighter? Does it bring clarity or a new perspective? This act of honesty can strengthen your awareness and deepen your relationships, building a more authentic self. 5. The Deep Dive Immersion Challenge. In our dopamine-rich world, it's easy to live on the surface, constantly seeking new stimuli. This exercise helps you cultivate profound engagement with the present moment, turning ordinary activities into sources of quiet satisfaction. Choose one everyday activity you usually rush through, find boring, or often multitask during. This could be washing dishes, taking a short walk, drinking your morning coffee, or waiting in line. For 10 to 15 minutes, commit to immersing yourself fully in this single activity. Engage all your senses. Notice the temperature of the water, the texture of the sponge, the scent of your coffee, the sounds around you, the feeling of your feet on the ground. Let your mind observe thoughts and feelings without judgment, gently bringing your focus back to the activity whenever it wanders. The goal isn't to enjoy it, but to fully experience it. After this short immersion, reflect on how you feel. Did you notice details you usually miss? Did time seem to slow down? This practice strengthens your ability to find richness and meaning in the present, reducing the urge to escape. That wraps up our exploration of today's book. If even one idea here gave you something to reflect on, give it a like so YouTube knows to share more with you. And if you'd like the next insight in your feed, hit subscribe. Remember, what you heard today is our independent interpretation, enriched with analysis and exercises. The full book has far more depth, so consider reading it to experience the author's work directly. Thanks for listening to DeftU Insights, where we turn great books into tools for growth.